Welcome to One Day in a Wake Up, a show about doing time, getting out, and where you are now. In prison slang, one day in a wake up means you're almost free. Just one more day before they walk you out the gate. So let's walk out together. One Day in a Wake Up on Colorado Radio for Justice.
All right, yo, what's up? Thank you for joining us here on One Day in a Wake Up. Y'all could be anywhere in the world right now watching anything y'all want. Y'all could be watching Joe Buttons, Joe Rogan, The Pivot, whatever. But y'all decided to chill here with us right here on One Day in a Wake Up. This is a production of Colorado Radio for Justice. I am your formerly incarcerated host, Herbert Alexander. And basically the show is, we want to touch a little bit about incarceration, but mainly we want to focus on post-incarceration and maybe the obstacles that you had while being out here in the free world and everything that you did to be successful as of not going back to the system thus far. You know what I'm saying? You ready to get this thing started?
Absolutely.
My guest today, I've known him for a long time now. We met in prison. He lived about just 5 doors down from me, so we shared a chair for many, many years. You know what I'm saying? So even at the time, if you weren't friends, you become acquaintances and you begin to know people, know each other. And this man, like he's done some things in the joint, some real positive things. You know what I'm saying? First of all, what was your sentence?
When I got incarcerated, I was 17. By the time I got to Lyman, I was already 18, but I went in with a life without parole sentence. And I spent 21 years with that life without parole sentence. A few years before I was resentenced, the Supreme Court said that my sentence and sentences like mine were unconstitutional. And it took a few years for Colorado to rewrite their sentences and create some change and for me to get resentenced. After I was resentenced, it was a 42 and a half. And then obviously I was able to go through the Juveniles Convicted as Adults program, and I didn't have to serve what was left on that 42 and a half.
You were sentenced as a juvenile. So you went in as juvenile and you did JCAP. Was there ever a time that you just thought it was bleak, like you weren't ever going home?
Absolutely. Probably about the same time I first met you. When we were in Lyman, it comes in waves. Like every now and then you'll get a little bit hopeful, positive about something you might hear, some kind of change that might be coming down or new opportunities that might be showing up. But after a little while, they fizzle out, they don't pan out, and you're just kind of stuck back in your same situation. And, different factors will play into that. So if you're already kind of in a little bit of a down mindset, and then things are bad in the facility or things are bad in your personal life, it gets really heavy. And you're just like, is this ever going to change? And, that's the complex relationship with hope that you have as a prisoner, especially with a long sentence, is anything ever going to happen? And is it worth it, to deal with all this in the meantime?
So you went through the JCAP program, Juveniles Convicted as Adults program. Were you on that first wave?
I was on the second wave.
Second wave?
It's like second and a half wave. After the big first group, it was kind of more of a trickle than it was like these big groups of people leaving.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I was in there with those guys. I actually got to see those guys leave, which is really cool.
Okay, you did 21 years, bro.
With the life without parole sentence, I did 26 and a half overall. 26
and a half overall, which is nothing to sneeze at. You went in as a juvenile and you came out with your scruples, which is a tough thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were part of the CrossFit program.
Yep. As a matter of fact, later today, several of us are going to Arkansas Valley to go be a part of an event they're running. They did really well with what's called the CrossFit Open this year, and to kind of recognize that, a bunch of us are going to go down there. They're having a little bit of a ceremony for it. So still promoting that from out here. While we were inside, we kind of stumbled on it, and we were able to be a part of the creation of Redemption Road Fitness Foundation, where kind of like what you were talking about earlier, sometimes people, for whatever reason or for no reason, can't get along or don't get along or won't even try. And we found that CrossFit kind of opens a door for people who might not otherwise ever talk to each other or look at each other hang out and work out
Mhm.
together and kind of build a bond and a community. So
Dope.
yeah, it became kind of an amazing
I want
little
to
scenario.
ask, because when I first met you, you were a heavier dude.
Yeah.
You were a big boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Up until about 2016, right before we really got into the CrossFit program, I've been working out with John, John Willis,
Yeah.
and size didn't matter at that point. It was just about trying to move all the weight on the weight
Right.
pile. And yeah, I got real big. And then when we started the CrossFit program, just shifted all my training, shifted my eating. And part of that was like a change of relationship to food.
Oh,
And
yeah.
really
That's a tough thing right there.
yeah.
To separate to like divorce food.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Like in there especially, bro, because like in there it's like there's only a couple things to do.
Yeah.
And eating is like one of the main things that you do.
It's social,
Like,
it's emotional, like all of it.
wow. Where did you get the motivation? Where did you get the motivation just to do that? What brought it to you? Just be like, hey, you know what? I need to make a change.
So I really liked CrossFit and I wanted to be better at CrossFit, and being as big as I wasn't going to be able to be as good as I wanted to be. And I wanted to feel better, like by and large, just wanted to feel better. So those are the two main motivations.
Cool. All right. Now, after doing all that time, were you already resentenced before the JCAP?
Yeah, so that was kind of the way Colorado worked it out. Their response to the Supreme Court decision was to create new sentencing guidelines, resentence almost all of us. And then as part of the resentencing, you were then eligible for the Juveniles Convicted as Adults program if you met certain criteria. And from there, that's a 3-year minimum program. You complete the 3 years, and once you're done with that, then you're able to request the parole board to review you. And if they make a positive recommendation, it'll go to the governor's office, and the governor's office can then side with or against the parole board. I mean, it's the governor's parole board. He doesn't usually side against them. And then from there, you actually can be released earlier than having to complete like the mandatory part of your sentence.
So in that time when you were, let's say after you're in JCAP, you're enrolled in JCAP, you're completing all your programs, and now you're about to see the parole board. What were your emotions at that point? Were you optimistic? Were you pessimistic? Did you think because the guys ahead of you went, you're like, I'm getting out?
I felt good seeing the other guys get out. So going into JCAP, I mean, honestly, seeing other DOC programs, you're just like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And so the first like 2 years in JCAP was like, we're going through all of this and we have no idea if it's going to work. And maybe it's probably not going to work. And then it was like March 6th of 2021 when the first guys got out, something like that. And then it was like, oh, maybe it is working.
They all got out.
They all got out, yeah. Every single one of the first guys. And so it put a different spin on it. It's like, okay, the parole board recognizes this, governor's office is recognizing this. So this is a great opportunity. You're not just going through this for nothing. Because honestly, going from where I was to do the program in another facility, it was a hard transition. I didn't really enjoy the other facility that I was in. I felt like I'd given up a lot for, the potential for potentially nothing.
Yeah.
And turned out to be everything.
Yeah,
but
everything,
hindsight,
You took it. No, what is it? How do they say it? No risk it, no biscuit.
Yeah.
No
That's
risk
good.
it, no biscuit.
I'll have to use
that.
But so once we saw everyone getting out, it was like, okay, this is different. And so you take it a little bit more seriously. And there's still that possibility, like you're the one that they say no to, And so that still hangs over your head a little bit, but you have a lot more optimism. Yeah, at least you know that the program's being recognized.
For sure.
Which until the first group did get out, it was a question. It was a question mark, Are we going to go to the parole board or the governor's office? They're like, what is this thing? What are you guys even talking about? Why are you asking to get out of prison? You have, 7 years left on your sentence. Go do your time. Leave us alone. But they didn't. They recognized it. And so, people, after that first group, other people started trickling out. I was kind of in like a third wave or so.
Mm.
There were a couple guys who got in there right after that first wave, so they were, you know, a little bit before me, and then there was a couple that got out right around me at the same time I did. There was 3 of us who got out in about a month and a half period, 2 months.
Okay. You get a recommendation from the parole board. They say, hey, recommend this guy for parole. They shoot it to the governor's office. Old Polis looks at it. He's like, hey, Trevor Jones, pretty good guy. Send him out to the free world. Is basically how that worked out.
Pretty much.
Now, when he does that and gives you your date, where were you emotionally at that moment?
So this is how it's been pretty much for all of us. They tell you 2 weeks. Like when the governor's office makes a decision, they communicate it to DOC, and they're like, in 2 weeks this person goes home. And honestly, like, I was elated, obviously. What's cool about it is the wardens from the facilities that the program is in will come and talk to you. The wardens and the majors, they actually come, and they're the ones who deliver the message, as well as the JCAP administrator. So they call you to the warden's office of the facility that you're in, and if you're expecting it, it's cool. Otherwise, you know, if you're called to the warden's office, that might not be the best news, your best day. But they call you in, and they're like, we got great news for you. We have a date. The governor's office approved your request, and they tell you your date. And funny enough, I was in a facility, I was in Skyline, and Mike Montoya was there too. And I was actually in my room that morning, and Mike had seen the administrator of the program and the warden and the major from the other facility coming up. And we were all kind of expecting me to have a date soon, and he was also up as well. So he went and asked the administrator, he was like, what's going on? He's like, does Trevor have a date? And she was like, yeah, but don't say anything. And of course, he ran right to my room, and he was like, dude, they're here, you got a date. And so I was already pretty fired up when they called me in, expecting it. And they told me it was only like a 5-10 minute conversation at the most. And as soon as they told me, I went and grabbed the phone, called my mom, called my dad, called my sister, called a couple friends.
Everybody went crazy.
Yeah, because another part about it is you never really know when the governor's office is going to respond.
That's the thing.
Yeah, so you finish the program, you see the parole board pretty quickly after that, and then they make their recommendation pretty quickly, but then the governor's office is under no obligation to answer it quickly.
Yeah, they can be like, we'll get to Trevor when we get to Trevor.
Yeah. So for mine, they were pretty quick with it. With the first group, it was a little bit slow, and boy, those were some tense days. And then I'm not sure how they pace it out. Like sometimes people will wait, 6 to 8 months. Sometimes people wait a couple months, like 3 or 4 months. Yeah. So it's hard to say, but I found out pretty quickly, was able to tell all my people. And then, so I'm making the plans, right? I'm making the plans to transition. My parents were going to come pick me up. I was going to go stay with my sister. And about a week later, my case manager very reluctantly has someone come get me and call me to her office. And she was like, I don't want to have to tell you this, but Arapahoe County has a warrant on you. You're not going to be able to go home right away. Your parents can't come get you. Arapahoe County is going to come pick you up, and you're going to have to go over there and get processed for this warrant. And it turns out it was a warrant for a misdemeanor juvenile traffic offense that had been sitting hidden in a file somewhere until my release date popped up, and then it just populates some field in a spreadsheet. Trevor Jones warrant for, this was almost 29 years previous to that, to me getting out. And so I panicked. I was sunk. It was like a Friday, and I was like, I'm gonna go sit in county. Instead of going home, I'm gonna go sit in county over the weekend until I can see a judge early the next week. And obviously with such a trivial, situation, the judge would probably quickly dismiss it, but just having to go through that trouble instead of going home when I was expecting to. Luckily, and this kind of a big story of my life is, I knew someone I was able to call. I called my friend, called Eric Davis, and I was like, Eric, man, this just happened. And he was like, well, let me talk to some people. So he was able to call some people, and they were able to get a hold of the DA of Arapahoe County. And this was all in like a 2-day period, which is pretty miraculous. And the DA of Arapahoe County was like, we do not need to process this. And they sent a motion to dismiss
immediately,
right away. So I never had to actually go through that. I was able to Reestablished my initial plans. My parents came and picked me up. I got out with another guy who was finishing the JCAP program. He got out the same day I did. And we had a really awesome release at the visitor center at up in the Canyon complex. And my parents came and got me, and I got to get out.
So you were locked up for 21 years. Clearly, you missed the big tech wave of everything that just went through. And we together used to just watch things on television, you know, how the world is just evolving. It's all we had. Did you have a tough time with tech when you got out?
I'm still having a tough time with tech. It was interesting, like early on, you know, just using the smartphone, there was a couple things like, what would I do? But I wasn't trying to use it for like big things in life. You know, it's like trying to figure out how to text or use email and stuff like that. And it was pretty easy, you know, those things are so like user friendly that there was an intuitive element to it. And I made the most of every opportunity inside to stay as connected to tech as I could. Where it really showed up was having to start using it for work. And then
that's where it gets tricky.
It gets tricky, it gets demanding. And like you always have to be on top of your stuff. And not only that, it's the it's a little bit of a pet peeve, but like if you're already feeling a little bit of pressure just in life, having to set up an account for everything, having to have a password for everything, having to remember those passwords, setting up all this stuff all the time, like just constantly, it's just something to get used to. And I've been out for almost 2 years, so getting used to it has been a bit of a challenge, but I've got a ton of support, and I don't mind asking people for help. So I'll ask my fiance, soon-to-be wife, Michelle, help, please. Or I'll ask my sister or my 14-year-old niece, because it's all easy for them. And I get plenty of help, but still there's a little bit of frustration and just, the stress of not having had that for so long in my life. And then all of a sudden it's like everything,
I can ask a funny question. It's great to be out and everything. What was the worst thing about getting out?
I haven't been asked that before. That's an interesting question, man. Everyone's like, what's the best thing about being out?
What's the worst thing? Like, what's the worst thing that you probably had to deal with that just, have you had any struggles to make you be like, man, life is extremely hard right now?
So obviously, you go from having pretty much everything handed to you inside. You don't cook your own meals unless you work in the kitchen. The time is regulated for you. Like you kind of know where you're going to be and when. And being out here, having to manage all that stuff yourself, I would say like, I don't want to call it the worst thing because, it's like still super blown away and grateful for like every day. But a little bit of the time management piece, the things that we take for granted inside, like, someone does your laundry for you, someone, you always have something being taken care of for you. And now out here, it's like you're obligated
time is you run out of time
every day.
You run out of
I've slept honestly 6 hours in the last 2 days.
Yeah, you just run out of time. It's nuts.
Yeah. Just trying to stay on top of everything. So yeah, like time management has probably been the biggest struggle. I don't know if I'd say it's the worst thing, but it's definitely been one of the struggles.
You've been out here. How long have you been out totally?
Just next month will be 2 years.
Next month will be 2 years. All right. Within this 2 years, it's apparent that you've thrived. You're doing well. The main thing is you haven't gone back.
Yeah.
If you caught a kid walking out of prison, and he needed some advice, what advice would you give him to make sure he or she, was able to be successful, in the manner that you are?
Sweet. I love that question. For one, I would insist, try to be patient with yourself, try to be patient with others, try to be patient with the process. Sometimes things are overwhelming, and then sometimes you want things to happen quicker. So you got to be patient with all of it. Just be easy on yourself. Like, it's gonna work out. So that would be one of the things. Ask for help. Like, don't be too proud. Like, don't don't set yourself up for failure because you just don't want to ask for help. Ask for help. You know, and there's lots of people who are going to help you. There's so many services right now. Obviously, we're in a little bit of a, you know, difficult situation politically where, you know, some of the services might start disappearing. But as it is today, like this person who's walking out today, there's a lot of services. Work with the parole office. Like they have services for you. Work with Remerge. You know, there's so many like opportunities and so many resources that you don't have to like fall under, you know, and get wrapped back up just because you didn't have the opportunities.
In the BS, yeah.
Yeah.
Like feel like there wasn't an opportunity for you.
Right.
I think that's where a lot of people, you know, fall short, is they think that there wasn't any opportunities, and, you know, they take the first couple of shots, they miss, you know what I'm saying? And like, I quit.
Yeah.
I'm never going to play the game again.
Yep. And so they're just back in the cycle.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Take the opportunities as they come. Like, and that was kind of one of my big lessons from inside is opportunities don't always represent themselves. So jump on an opportunity when it shows up. And
I think when their expectancy of some people's expectancies of opportunities is what gets them. They think it's just like the next day turnaround type of thing.
Right.
You know, I think they have to understand that they have to work at it. It just doesn't happen overnight. You have to work. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Hard. That's another lesson. Work hard. Like, you know, get into the grind. And, you know, there's different opinions about grind culture, but if you're coming out of prison and you're coming from a bit of a deficit, you got to get on the grind, man. You got to get in there and hustle it out. There might come a time where you can ease up some, but initially, man, you have got to be focused on working hard and getting yourself established. And then, you know, then chill a little bit after that if you need to.
I think when it gets tough for you, when you're just sitting there like, I can't do this anymore, or when you're at work and you're like, oh, this sucks, I don't want to be here anymore, I think you're just going to have to just dig inside your brain, your Rolodex of memories, and just remember those, you know, those hard beds, those lonely nights, you know what I'm saying? Those horrible showers.
Yeah.
Just think about all those horrible things that you know what I'm saying, have to just live through for all those years. And decide if you want to go back to it or not.
One of our really good friends works at Pepsi, and he makes pretty dang good money. And not every task is his favorite task, but he'll post on social media all the time, why wouldn't I be doing this? Yeah. Like, I'm making this kind of money where I came from, because he also did the JCAP program, got out, did great. Why wouldn't I work hard at this? Like, I know what is on the other side, and I don't want that.
For sure. I could never see myself going back to that.
Right.
Could never see myself. Man. Oh man, this has been great. You have anything else you want to add? Anything?
No, man, I love what you guys are doing.
Drop a gem?
What's up?
You want to drop a gem real quick?
Yeah, I mean, Mach 93 CrossFit gave me my first job when I got out. Our owner, Fred, he had already known about the Redemption Road Fitness Foundation we created, and one of my really good friends had already been working at his gym, and he gave me a free membership the day I got out, which was amazing. And then he hired me as soon as he could for at least one class, which was within about a month of getting out. So did you go
in there and just clown?
No, athletes out here are good. So, and the sport's a little bit different from the inside to the outside. Like inside, limited opportunities or whatever, people listen to you a little bit more closely. Out here, these people have been doing it like every day for years. And so they're not as interested or mesmerized by the cool QE and you might have figured out for someone. Yeah. But I love that gym so much, and I've been there basically since the first month I was out. Just yesterday I taught 5 classes. But getting back to like one of the things we were talking about a minute ago, when you're getting out, when I was first looking for a job, like a full-time job, it was like every day, and I'm kind of waiting, you know, hoping, and I'm taking like temp positions and stuff like that to just start to stack up a little bit of money. And that was also really cool. But my sister told me a really good piece of advice, and I use it all the time still in the work that I do now. Looking for a job is a full-time job. So like, you know, if you don't have a job, you get up at 6 a.m. and you start looking for work until 5 in the afternoon.
You're preaching to the choir.
Right. I know you're not.
I promise you, bro. Like when as soon as I hit the ground, you know, I went and got a job immediately
Yeah.
at a place I didn't really want to work, but I had to.
Yeah.
I went and got a job real fast. And as during that time, I didn't want to be a dishwasher for the rest of my time.
Yep.
So I started looking for better jobs.
Yep.
Started searching. And, that was a tough thing because you get a lot of denials.
Yep.
If you have a felony, you get a lot of denials. You know what I'm saying? Every company's listening, you're missing out on some good workers.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But yeah, it was tough. And, emotionally because I had quit my job because I had thought another job had hired me, but because they hired me, but then when they read the felony, they were like, hey, we can't hire you. So I was out of work. So I'm sitting there every day, honest jobs, Indeed, everything. I'm just going hard. Mm-hmm. And, finally I got something. Like they looked out and it was a great job. I'm going to be honest. It was a great job. It put me where I needed to be. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So,
I had that too. There was a couple jobs that I went through an onboarding process. There was two big ones. And at the end of the onboarding process, that's when HR gets involved in your stuff. So the managers have taught you, your supervisors have been training you, and they're all ready for you. And they're like, this person's great, we're ready to roll. And then the felony shows up in HR, who might be in another state, have no idea who you are. They're like, no, look at this felony, we can't hire this person. And so it's pretty devastating. Especially if they're jobs that you wanted to do or you were looking forward to, or even just coming out, you're like, it's a job.
I get that email. The only thing I see is, we don't want your felony black ass. That's all but in so many words, that's all I see. They may say it in some nice words, but that's all I see.
Absolutely. Right.
But yeah, man. Well, man, this has been great, bro. Man, I had a great time talking with you, man. Conversating.
Yeah, man, you're always great to hang out with.
You know what I'm saying? All right, man. So, again, thank you for joining One Day in the Wake Up. Again, I'm Herbert Alexander, your humble, formerly incarcerated host, with my man, Trevor Jones. If you really like this episode, please hit that subscribe, hit that like, you know what I'm saying? Show some love, show some support. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.
Nice, boy.
To who it may concern, I'm at the point of no return. It took a couple round trips in order for me to learn, and I ain't never going back. Allow me to be exact. You let pain run its course till you're forced to adapt in the worst habitat. Speaking matter of fact, zigzagging through this maze with my brain still intact. Progress is the phase, the rest is just capped. What lurks after that? Fresh air don't care when you spent light years in a prison, shifting gears with the friction and the tears. Addictions in the rear, model for your peers. That's the sum of all fears. This is not a hot take. One day in a wake till a steak on my plate. Kiss from my mate. Life reanimate. Exist to be great. Let your thoughts elevate. Bend but don't break. Cause your past and your future can no longer correlate.
One Day in a Wake Up is a production of Colorado Radio for Justice. Check out CRJ at radioforjustice.org and across social media at Radio for Justice. This episode of One Day in a Wake Up was produced by me, Taylor Hanson, along with Ryan Conero and Herbert Alexander. We're also the executive producers for this show, along with Seth Reddy. Our theme music is by Herbert Alexander. This is One Day and a Wake Up.